We have some really big news. The US military has gone aggressive once again, striking down Houthi targets over Yemen. We will get into those details, but real quick, we also need to talk about a Greek-owned ship was actually attacked by the Houthis off the coast of Yemen. Let's get to that. Okay, so a Malta-flagged Greek-owned bulk carrier was struck by a missile while northbound in the Red Sea, 76 nautical miles northwest of the Yemeni port of Salif. Essentially, the Houthis launched missiles at the ship named Zographia. And the Zographia was sailing from Vietnam to Israel with 24 crew on board, and it was empty of cargo when attacked. Now, all reports across the internet are saying there have been no injuries or no casualties, if you will. Everyone is good to go on the ship. Nonetheless, it goes to show that the aggression of the Houthi will stand, and the ones giving the orders, Iran, is saying, keep launching, go after civilian vessels. Because look, at the end of the day, as long as the Houthis can go after civilian vessels who are not really owned by the Greeks, but maybe like 5 other owners, who exactly is going to go after the Houthis? Now, let's talk about the US attacks on Houthi targets over Yemen. Understand in context real quick, because we need the full picture, is that Iran has been launching strikes of their own over in the Pakistani region, over in actual Iraq, over in Syria. So now we're getting strikes all over the Middle East from Iran proxy groups. But now the United States has decided, okay, you know what? The ball is back in our court. We cannot allow for Iran to do all of these strikes. We need to strike back. Here's the story. The US military has launched an attack on 4 anti-ship missiles, essentially taking preemptive matters to not allow for the Houthis to continue their attacks into the Red Sea. Now, understand this. No one has any idea how much of a stockpile or where these munitions are stored. We know where they're coming from, and we know who's funding it. Iran. However, again, the United States and other countries who want to get in on trying to stop the Houthis, they might run into a very big problem that Israel is facing with Hamas. Israel, I don't think, had any idea that there were this many munitions stored underground within the Gaza tunnels. We've known about the tunnels, but we didn't know about how much was stored in those tunnels. Now, when you go over to Yemen, completely different story. You have a way more battle-hardened and organized operation going on with the Houthis. We can only imagine how much they've been stockpiling for operations to continue as they are. Now, something else I need to add, back in January 11th, there was already a seizure of a ship heading towards Yemen from Somalia. The ship that was captured, it's now come out as I'm doing this news story and going through articles, that there were components and parts that were heading for Yemen for the Houthis to assemble missiles together. So look, as we can see, the Houthis, they are well funded, and it looks like Iran is really trying to utilize them as a key component to their assets. I call Iran an octopus, using their tentacles to control the Middle East and their militant groups from Hezbollah, Houthis, it doesn't matter. Now look, at the end of the day, it does look like the US military does have their hands tied behind their backs, and they're almost getting pushed into a corner. The Houthis are going to continue these operations. I think I'm on like day 4 of coming back to YouTube, and all I've talked about were the Houthis attacking civilian vessels, the US strikes back. But the one thing I'm noticing, and there's a pattern here, is that Iran is getting more and more aggressive, and the United States is like very, very slowly catching up to Iran. It's usually the other way around, where Iran, they're trying to catch up with the US military and trying to counteract the US military, but now it looks like Iran has found the US military's Achilles heel. As long as they can keep going after civilian ships, keep disrupting world trade, go after the economics of the world, eventually the Middle East is going to get sucked into a power vacuum, going to get sucked into a proxy war. That is the absolute last thing the United States military wants or needs right now, especially still with the black eyes from Afghanistan, from Iraq, even though we're still in Iraq. And I do have to mention this while we're in this video. One thing you need to understand is that Iran has just recently conducted, about 12 hours of the time of this video, attacks into Erbil, Iraq. The Revolutionary Guard is claiming that they took out Israeli Mossad headquarters. But understand this was only right down the road from the United States military's headquarters, who's in charge of the coalition forces and everything going on in Iraq and the United States. This is a really big sign that Iran could care less that they are down the road. But what is the U.S. military going to do about it? Take out some ballistic missiles here and there? Look, Yemen is relatively big considering the battle space for the United States military, and it's also rather complex. And the other thing that's really difficult is that the United States military is not only fighting or focusing on the Houthis, in fact, they're trying to stay away from them, but the Houthis keep instigating, keep going after civilian vessels. Now, it's a good thing that the Houthis are really bad at actually destroying these civilian ships. I don't know what these ships are made of nowadays, like completely bulletproof titanium, and I don't know. For some reason, the Houthis, thank God, have not actually managed to sink a civilian ship. The second that they do, or the day that they do, or the day that they manage to get a hit on a U.S. naval ship, I'm going to be reporting probably on something new. The headline will probably be, "War has started with Houthis." But for now, it looks like the Houthis are really bad at what they do. That's a good thing. And the U.S. military looks like they're going to start taking preemptive strikes. It's like the ball is in your court, the ball is in your court. Now the ball is back in the Houthi court. Are they really going to keep going after naval ships? Are they really going to keep going after civilian ships? I think they really are.